Bear down, Chicago Bears. One of the biggest questions being asked right now is, did the Chicago Bears win the NFL draft? Were they the best team? Did they have the best draft overall? And the answer to that for a lot of people, especially in the Chicago area, is a resounding yes. We like what we see. We enjoy the people that we've gotten so far. There's a little bit of worry about Caleb Williams because there are some old time people here who just don't like a man who paints his fingernails or a man who's comfortable letting his emotions show. They don't like that, but it doesn't really matter because what we've got is a talented, potentially generational quarterback on the roster now who can pick up where the previous quarterback left off, hopefully to improve the situation dramatically, lead the Bears to the playoffs, eventually lead the Chicago Bears into the Super Bowl. Incredible time right now to be a Chicago Bears fan. Now, if you like this type of content, make sure that you hit the like button. That helps push me up in the algorithm. And that's the first thing I will, and the only thing that I will ask you to do today, if you will, please make sure you hit that button and let's talk about it. The Bleeves logo exploded yesterday, so that doesn't seem like it's going to be working for a while. Although seems to have fixed. I've been having this issue. Seems to have fixed it right here in the studio. Bang, problem solved. So let's kick this off. We're going to be asking one of these big questions today. And did the Bears have the best draft? Now, it would be my opinion as a Chicago Bears fan that of course we did. They dominated. They got the pieces that they wanted. They got them in the places that they wanted. The team, by the way, let's be honest here. The team seems to be bonding. Caleb Williams already working out with DJ Moore, already working out with Keenan Allen, hanging out with Keenan Allen, getting to know him, hanging out with Rome Odunze, becoming fast friends with all of these guys, really starting to fit in and mesh very well with some of the prominent members of the team. And that begs the question, will this end up being something where these guys start to feel really comfortable with one another going into the season? Does it look like just an explosive sort of out of the gate moment for the Chicago Bears? I mean, fingers crossed. Let's hope that that is the case. But today we're going to check out how people are evaluating the Chicago Bears and what are they saying about them and what about the draft class. So again, if you like this content, just make sure you hit the like button. We're going to kick it off with the Chicago Bears welcome 5 new rookies in the 2024 NFL draft. And Ryan Poles called this their impact class. That started with the selection of Caleb Williams and wide receiver Rome Odunze. Then they reached down, grabbed Kieran Emagaje, and then grabbed a generational punter in Tory Taylor. And look, we throw around the generational term a lot. We called Caleb Williams generational. We called Marvin Harrison generational. We called Rome Odunze generational. Everybody's generational until they hit the field. We'll see how these guys play out. But Tory Taylor, we call him Tory Punter pretty soon, or Legatron, if you will. Legatron, he averaged a ridiculous amount of yards through the air. He's got a great hang time. This guy might just be exactly as good as advertised. And then we have an unproven prospect who really seems to shine up very, very nicely when you look at him statistically. You only have a small sample, 509 snaps. Austin Booker came in, had about 9 sacks, really relentless pursuit of the quarterback. He's a pass rushing specialist. Could be a very, very good haul. Now, that being the case, there we go. The crocodile punter, Legatron. Um, NFL.com has ranked the Chicago Bears as the 2nd overall class, not the 1st. However, they ranked the Pittsburgh Steelers number 1. And their analysis was actually pretty simple. It says sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And to Bears Ryan Poles' credit, he made his own luck by acquiring said pick from Carolina. Furthermore, Chicago's brain trust laid the foundation for Caleb to make a smooth transaction. He's supported by a defense that's infinitely more dependable than anything he's experienced at USC. The preternaturally gifted passer is also surrounded by a cadre of weapons at running back with DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert. At receiver with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, and at tight end with Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Oh, and 8 picks after drafting Williams, of course, Rome Odunze. So real high on him. General Manager Ryan Poles went offensive heavy with the first three selections, landing a potential generational quarterback, an elite wide receiver, and a potential starting left tackle, adding more depth to the line. While the Taylor selection came as a surprise to many, the Bears view him as a weapon who can flip the field and be a game changer. And really, it's going to come down to the accuracy of Tory Taylor on whether or not he can pin teams within that 10-yard line and just give the defense all of the support that it can give. I think we're going to see a couple of booming kicks early on as he gets used to, kind of laying it in within the 10-yard line. Going to be a very tough, going to be something that's acquired taste overall. He's got that booming leg and he'll be wanting to kick it out of the end zone a bunch of times. And that's not what we're going to want to see. So we'll see how he adapts to it, but he could be just the best punter coming out in a long time. So, we'll see. However, the number here ends up that they drafted them as the number 2 overall class, with the Steelers being number 1. Now, the Steelers in round 1 took Torrey Fatanu. In round 2, they took Zach Frazier. Round 3, they took Roman Wilson. By the way, if this sounds familiar, this is this is some of the drafting that we did early on when we were looking for people to fill up our rosters. So again, Troy Fatanu, Zach Frazier, Roman Wilson. They had 2 picks in the 3rd round. They picked up Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of North Carolina. We didn't need a linebacker, so we didn't look at him. But Mason McCormick, we redrafted multiple times in the 4th round at guard from South Dakota State. And in the 6th round, they took Logan Lee, defensive end, and Ryan Watts, defensive back. And then General Manager Omar Khan absolutely crushed the offseason, restocking the quarterback position. That, of course, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. So there's a lot to like about this team. But they capitalized by taking Fatanu, adding him to a line that included last year's top pick, which was Georgia tackle Broderick Jones, giving the Steelers an instant competitor to Dan Moore and 2 bookend tackles for years to come. There's a lot of different things to like about what Pittsburgh did overall. Quarterback room is still going to be a mystery. Do we like Justin Fields? We still like Justin Fields. He's the enemy now, if you will, but we like Justin Fields and, hope the best for him. Not as good as the Steelers and not as good as the Bears, but, we wish you number 2. So anyway, 1st round, Caleb Williams, of course, Rome Odunze. Then in the 3rd round, we took Kieran Emagaji. Number 4, we took Tory Legatron Taylor, or the crocodile punter, as it were. And then in round 5, we took Austin Booker, defensive end out of Kansas. And this is what Mike Felice says. He says, at this time 1 year ago, Caleb was the presumed number 1 pick. Then we went through another football season, and Caleb was the presumed number 1 pick. Following a moderately spirited debate about whether Chicago should trade incumbent quarterback Justin Fields or the pick, the Bears predictably did the former and used the latter to make a no-brainer decision. So how much credit does Chicago truly deserve here? Am I really handing out flowers for essentially having the good fortune of holding the top pick in a year when they're a unanimous top dog? Indeed, I am. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And to Ryan Poles' credit, he made his own luck by acquiring the pick from Carolina last year. Furthermore, Chicago Brain Trust laid the foundation for Caleb to make a smooth transition into the NFL, supported by a defense that's more dependable and a big staff of people. So, yes, Chicago owned a sparkling grade in this book, getting an A grade for the draft. Despite limited resources, this was not very shabby. Kieran Emagaji is a developmental tackle with an NFL frame, athleticism, and absolute vines for arm, 36.5 inches. Had a quad injury not ended his season last October and prevented him from showing his wares throughout the pre-draft process. It's hard to believe he'd have been available at number 75. And in addition to acquiring an intriguing edge blocker, Chicago also picked up an edge rusher with upside. Austin Booker broke out last season as a redshirt sophomore at Kansas, turning a lot of heads in the scouting community with an inspired showing versus Texas. While he didn't knock anyone's socks off at the scouting combine, his raw ability is enticing, and his availability midway through round 5 was a surprise. So Chicago traded back from the 2025 draft into the 2024 to scoop him up. And as for taking a punter in round 4, yes, a very bold move, but Tory Taylor is a cult hero in Iowa for routinely bailing out the Hawkeyes' mind-numbingly anemic offense. Caleb already texted his new teammate that his services will not be needed. And by the way, number 3 on this We're not going to get into too much of what they did, but we do want to point out the Philadelphia Eagles came in at number 3, picking up Quinyon Mitchell in the first round, grabbing Johnny Wilson, wide receiver out of Florida State, Cooper DeJean, defensive back, and of course every you guys saw the video that I did a while back over that wild guy. Number 4, the Clippers taking Joe Alt, Lad McConkey. So they got a pretty good steal here. And number 7, in round 7, they were able to get Brendan Rice. Now remember, Brendan Rice was available a lot earlier in this draft. So interesting to see him falling into that 7 round. Number 5, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., and then you got Darius Robinson. The wild, we liked him for a long time. Then they also picked up Trey Benson. Indianapolis Colts took Latu, Adonai Mitchell, and then Tanner Bartolini showed up on our radar a couple of times. The Raiders got Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers Johnson also showed up on our radar. DJ Glaze showed up on our radar. So it looks to me like we had some good picks going through all of this. The Giants at number 6 took Malik Neighbors and Tyler Nubin in the second round. Jacksonville came in at number 9 with Brian Thomas Jr., Mason Smith, defensive tackle. Remember, we liked him a lot. And Javon Foster, offensive tackle out of Missouri. Jordan Jefferson, nose tackle from LSU. LSU basically moved to Jacksonville this year. And then rounding out the top 10s was Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, and Chris Jenkins for the Cincinnati Bengals. McKinley Jackson, a nose tackle that we drafted multiple times as we were doing our mock drafts. And then Jermaine Burton. So shout out to the Bears, really living up to the hype, I think, in that we've remade this team in an image that I think is an improvement over what we had before. And the only thing left now is to perform on the field. So the next thing is who was the best in the draft? Well, that fell to Rome Odunze. ESPN analysts, 3 ESPN analysts were asked to grade this draft and come up with the best person in the draft. And 3 ESPN analysts have chosen the Bears selection of Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze and in the first round as the best pick of the NFL draft. He appeared in 40 games the past 4 seasons for the Huskies, caught 214 passes for 3,272 yards and 24 touchdowns. Last year at 6'3", 215 pounds, he was named first team All-American and was a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award, which was won by Marvin Harrison Jr., but he established a career high of 92 receptions, 1,640 yards, 13 touchdowns, and he played in the national championship game. With the Bears choosing Odunze after picking USC quarterback Caleb Williams overall, they drafted 2 players in the top 10 for the first time since 1979 when they selected defensive linemen Dan Hampton and Al Harris. Speaking of linemen, why is Olin Kreutz not in the Hall of Fame? Anybody answer that for me? Why is he not in? He's the only all-decade team member not in the Hall of Fame right now. Shame on you, Hall of Fame committee. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? Also, look, you gotta recognize Caleb is out here throwing up the paw and doing his bear thing. Him and Rome are living their best lives as new Chicago Bears. I think it's just incredible what we're seeing out of these guys so far. Are they going to be as good as advertised? I mean, I certainly hope so. But at the end of the day, these guys are just absolutely loving being out here. So that leads me to Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams, where does Caleb Williams rank in the preseason at quarterback? And CBS Sports just came out with their analysis of the top 32 quarterbacks, and they're ranking and assessing every team ahead of the start of the season. And we didn't shine. Number 1 was Patrick Mahomes, followed by Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love. Outside of the top 10, you had Aaron Rodgers, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Will Levis, and then at number 23, Caleb Williams. Any and every rookie is a projection, even the number one pick. But Williams actually has a quality supporting cast out of the gate. Unlike Justin Fields before him, savvy vets like DJ Moore and Keenan Allen should help take some of the load off him as he debuts his heralded arm. Then you have Anthony Richardson coming in after that. Yeah, pretty second is just ridiculously wild. And then you have number 25, JJ McCarthy coming in above Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Like, yeah, this is getting a little bit wild, right? JJ McCarthy comes in at number 25. Derek Carr, 26. Jacoby Brissett, number 27. Jaden Daniels, number 28. Gardner Minshew, 29. Bo Nix, number 30. Bryce Young at 31. And then Daniel Jones at number 32. What happened to Tommy DeVito? I thought they were going with the Goombas. You know what I mean? I thought that they had already decided on something special there, but I mean, I guess not. I guess we're going back to Daniel Jones since we paid him all that money, right? So Caleb Williams coming in at number 23 in this preseason sort of roster. And yes, I mean, let it sit in. And look, say what you want about Brock Purdy, because there's plenty to say about him. But at the end of the day, this guy, as a rookie, took his team to the Super Bowl. I mean, he was the last pick in the draft, ended up in the Super Bowl. Let's give the kid the respect he deserves. 2 seasons, 2 NFC title games, 1 valiant Super Bowl effort. Does he have a sterling setup in San Francisco? Yes. Does he operate like a 10-year veteran? Yes. So, I mean, shout out to him. He's getting it done. So we'll see whether or not that manifests for a 3rd season in a row as we hear it on the X, if you will. Oh man, we had a good post here that somebody just deleted. Ain't that a bitch? Anyway, oh, you know what it was? God damn it, Chicago Bears. The goddamn Chicago Bears just deleted a post. They were the Chicago Bears put out a list of all of the talent that was that they had just announced as signings. So I didn't keep it and I didn't save it. I just had it sitting out here, waiting for. uh, let's see. Let's see if I can get it back here. Chicago Bears. Let's see if they did a redo here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so they changed they changed they changed it. There we go. All right, so the Bears have agreed to terms with 9 undrafted free agents ahead of rookie minicamp. So tomorrow, I expect to see these names showing out for the Chicago Bears. That's going to be Brendan Bates from Kentucky, tight end. Theo Benedette, offensive lineman out of BC. Carl Jones, linebacker from UCLA. Jamari Croma, defensive end out of James Madison. Wide receiver Pete LeBlanc from Louisiana Lafayette. Keith Randolph from Illinois. Austin Reed, quarterback from Western Kentucky. Reddy Stewart, defensive back out of Troy. And Ian Wheeler, running back out of Howard. These guys are going to be part of the rookie mini camp. So we shall see how they do and how they performed. And, maybe one of these guys will make the team. Now, as we look at it, this is the roster of everybody. And if you notice, I do want to say this. If you notice right here, there's nobody at all on this roster from Louisville, Kentucky. So it's possible the Chicago Bears never win another game again. Come on, man. You got to give me a Louisville guy. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Anyway, so Rome Odunze, Austin Reed, Marcus Rogers, Caleb Williams. We got an entire list right here. This is the mini camp roster. And, I don't know if you guys see any of these names out here that excite you. Quarterbacks, Austin Reed, Caleb Williams. Wide receivers, Rome Odunze, Marcus Rogers. We got John Jackson, remember that was the USC guy, best friend of Caleb Williams. He's coming in as a free agent. Peter LeBlanc, RJ Mobley, Freddie Swain, defensive backs. They've got a list of defensive backs. I suggest you go check this out. You're not going to know most of these people. I'm looking through the list of some of these guys. Travion Blaylock out of Wisconsin. I'm looking for big name teams, by the way. That's, what I mean? Kansas, of course, Austin Booker. We got Cameron Stutz, guard out of Auburn, that was invited. Rich Miller, linebacker out of Kansas, who was invited. One or two of these guys might make this roster. You never really know what's going to happen. Then you have Mike Florio, who has the Bears as the second best running back room in the NFL. And these were their best backfields. And by the way, if you ever notice, I don't know that that's going to be the way that this is done. I think that's going to be the top four, if you will, because I think that they're going to look at. I think the way that these guys are doing is, I think Chris Sims does his pick, and then Florio does his pick, and then Sims does his pick, and then Florio does his. You know what I mean? So it's probably the fourth overall on their list. But for Mike Florio, that was his number two room. DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, of course, Travis Homer still sitting in there. So it'd be interesting times to see how the Chicago Bears play out. But a lot of positivity coming out of the defensive room. And then what do we have here again? We got Caleb coming out with the Bear Claw. We got all of them doing it, except Keenan Allen, who's trying to be too cool. He's just trying to give you, peace symbol. But we've got the two Cubs coming out here as Chicago Bears. This was the team going to the Chicago Sky basketball game the other day. So a lot of look, guys, there's a lot to like. There's a lot to love with the Chicago Bears going into this season. Looks like the overall rating for the NFL draft class was second overall. There's going to be some arguments, of course, from people in Chicago saying that it was the best draft class that they've ever seen. Now, and I know somebody's going to say, well, back in the 1977s or some shit like that. But I mean, guys, look, most of us weren't around back then. So, you know what I mean? In modern times, this is probably the best draft class that we've got so far. The early draft grade was an A. Yes, last year's was a B plus. So, looks like we're rebuilding. Looks like we're restocking, reloading. I'm going to keep going with 13 wins, by the way, until somebody can, until I feel differently about this. I'm going to stick with 13 wins and say that the Chicago Bears are just going to absolutely come out of the gates firing on all cylinders. They're going to be ready for this season. Keep your fingers crossed. We're going to shorten this video a little bit today. That's all we're going to do. It's not financial advice. God damn it, I'm using my crypto stuff. Anyway, I got to go do crypto stuff because I'm a crypto bro. So anyway, you guys bear down, and we'll talk to you again soon.